Senator John Kelly, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Alaska. Here, look, I hope to be a lot briefer than 5 minutes. I want to welcome the Minister into the House yet again. Just to say that prior to Senator Quinn speaking in relation to the credit union movement, nobody had expressed any involvement in the credit union movement from within this House up to that point. But I'm delighted to say, Minister, that I'm a founder member of a credit union in Castlereagh in County Roscommon back in the late 1980s. I know what it involved in setting up a credit union, the days and hours and years it took to establish it. Then I was a director for 10 years of it and a teller for 10 years. So if I'm complimentary of the credit union movement, you'll fully understand why, because I see the great work that they do. And I would, on that note, I think it's important what Senator Quinn said, that we don't tar the credit union movement with the same brush as the banking sector, quite rightly, should be tarred with. The Irish League of Credit Unions have campaigned for radical reform in this area and is broadly positive about the majority of the provisions in this bill. However, there are some elements of the bill that were not considered by the Commission. Now, in at least 12 sections of the bill, as has already been said here, requirements under financial services legislation which was not detailed in the bill, but is mentioned here, and it's not being specific, and it's like a catch-all kind of scenario. And we do need clarity in the final stages of the bill in legislation, Minister, on that particular issue. In relation to the issue of term limits, purely from my own participation in anything got to do with volunteerism and all of that, I know that most of the directors of the Castlereagh Credit Union that I was founder member of are still directors today. And it's not mainly because they want to be. It's because you can't get volunteers to do anything now. And I would also say, to get volunteers into something like as a director of a credit union, I think it's often important that these people must be tellers first, so that they know what they're doing and know what the job is all about. So it's not just as simple as recruiting. And I do know that over the last number of years, some members of the same credit union have passed away. It has been quite difficult to recruit volunteers as directors. So I'm not so sure about that particular provision in the bill. What I would be suggesting is, if you have a credit union like the one I'm after mentioning to you, and there's people on it as directors for the last 25 years, leave them on it, and maybe the new provision apply to new members. Credit unions are given a chance. So yeah, it's important that credit unions are given a chance to provide enhanced services to members and all of that. And I think the proposal by some senator in relation to the provision of social finance for government-backed or government-guaranteed schemes that are of a social benefit locally, I think it's an excellent proposal. I know that there is another organisation that can do something similar, but I think it will be very important, if you have local projects in a local area that are government-backed, that the local credit union can have a role to play in that. In relation to the Central Bank Supervision and Enforcement Bill 2011, I just hope that it doesn't come down too heavy on credit unions, because it's important that we don't take away the flexibility that's already there with credit unions. And I am concerned, as I already said, that the credit unions are paying the price for what our banks did to this economy. Finally, Minister, the credit unions do play an important role, as I said, in the local communities, and I believe that legislation should not take away from the ethos of the credit union movement. And just on a final and kind of separate note, but similar, but kind of linked at the same time, in relation to something I've mentioned on numerous occasions in this House, and not many politicians actually believed me when I said it, and lots of them never heard of it before, and double-checked it to find out that I am actually accurate in it, because I've heard this from senior bank officials, and I think the same thing could apply to credit unions, and that is in relation to giving or to guaranteeing loans. If somebody guarantees a loan for somebody and you're praying that they'll repay the loan and everything is grand, and after a year they repay the loan, and you're blessing yourself and that's great, now I'm out of this. But you're not out of that unless you actually go in and ask the bank manager to take your name away from that guarantee, because you are not guaranteeing that loan. You're actually guaranteeing that person for life. unless you have it withdrawn. And you can't simply get it withdrawn either. You have to get the permission of the banks to have that withdrawn. I think it's very important that a lot of people are made aware of that particular thing that's there, because unfortunately too many people have got caught on this issue. And now, as we see the way the banks are doing their business, they will take any scalp they can get. So if there's any guarantee, historical guarantee given to somebody that exists on banking files, and those people happen to be still alive, I think it's very important that they're told go in and withdraw it, or else they'll be made pay for some other future borrowings of some other person. Thanks, Minister.
Thank you.